Mike Lee. On my show, if you watch my show regularly, you know that I'm about right talk, leading the right thinking, reading the right action, and we want to do the right thing. That's what the show's about. I am not politically correct. The revolution will not be televised, so I'll take my glasses off. My guest this evening is Mr. Karl Lentini, who is an independent film producer out of California. And we should be joined shortly by Marilyn Jackson from the other show from the Trailer Park Show as my second guest. The subject today is we're going to talk about eugenics, its origins and development, and the prospects it offers for us for the future. The discussion is going to be based on a video called Maafa 21. I think Mr. Lentini has seen that video or portions of it, as well as a show I was on yesterday at JCI. And what do you think about the eugenics movement?
I think it's a form of evil. I think it's a form of racism. I think, thank God, it's gone out of fashion, but may still exist in some form today.
I think it's scary as hell.
Yeah.
I think Planned Parenthood and what Planned Parenthood does in this pro-choice business is just wrong. I think that a human life is something precious and it's something that should be preserved, and that beginning with the treatment of black people during slavery and continuing up until today, that the practices they're inhumane. Now, when I first saw I just saw the video recently, and when I first saw it, it actually shocked me. And I didn't understand the background and the gravity of the situation until maybe halfway through the movie when I realized what was going on. And then I thought about what happened in the video compared to the post-traumatic stress, post-traumatic slave disorder that a professor out of, I believe, Portland State talks about. You familiar with any of that?
I did see the film. The part about Planned Parenthood, it seems to be a remnant of the eugenics movement. Mm-hmm. They don't call it that, but why are so many Planned Parenthoods in minority neighborhoods, black and Latino neighborhoods? I mean, you have to ask that.
Well, you know what really stunned me was I was doing some reading in another book by Dr. John Butler, who's a professor at University of Texas Graduate School of Business. And in his book it states that in 1931-32 there were about 14 million African Americans. There are not 2 million more than that even now. So it's almost like there's either zero or a negative population growth in the black community. And I believe that is substantially caused by the practices of Planned Parenthood and their locations. And that disturbs me because it seems to me that the goal is to wipe out a whole race of people.
Right, but the people who get abortions at Planned Parenthood do so voluntarily. So that's the thing that tricks my mind is if this is indeed a genocide against the black people, then they're walking right into it. They're stepping right into it. No one's coercing them or putting a gun to their head to go and get these abortions and slow down their population growth.
Well, it's being promoted as a birth control option. What is being promoted as a birth control option is really, at its heart, a population control or a population elimination option. Because the eugenics movement was designed to deal with the freed slaves from slavery. And it seemed to me that what came across in the film was, what do we do with all these people, these newly freed people? We have to take care of them. They're going to be a problem. And so instead of trying to eliminate the problems that the people may have caused, they say, well, just eliminate the people. And it seems to me that that's what's going on. That's what disturbs me particularly.
Mm-hmm. In the film, they mentioned that before the legalization of abortion, most abortions were done by white women illegally. Remember that part?
Yeah, yeah.
And that once abortion became legal with Roe v. Wade, then it flipped. Then most abortions were done in the black community.
Now,
like that was
now anyone who has watched me all, you know I'm sort of a political animal. And to me, in a sense, when I hear an African American black person, Negro, I use the terms interchangeably. And when I hear a person say I'm pro-choice, they're really saying they're pro-death, not pro-choice, because it seems to me they're saying a woman has a right to choose. A woman has a right to choose to take a life. To me, that's no different than someone committing a murder or a crime at a bank or in a store. What kind of work is it that you do, Karl?
Well, I've done one feature film so far that I wrote, produced, directed by myself. A narrative drama film.
Okay. Now I'm supposed to be joined by my second guest, who's Marilyn Jackson. She's coming in from another show. Where's Marilyn?
But yeah, I exist outside of the Hollywood system like a lot of independent filmmakers. There's a lot of us out there trying to make a film based on our ideas and our visions that don't quite fit into the corporate machine that is most of Hollywood, the Hollywood film business.
Is that a hard business to get into?
It's hard to break into Hollywood, but it's also hard to build an audience. Even if you make a film, even if you're a multimillionaire and you make your own film, how do you get people to see it? I mean, this Maafa 21 film used, like a lot of films these days, use the internet to spread the word. They don't need a multi-million-dollar marketing campaign.
Mauri, where's Marilyn? Marilyn's supposed to, she's supposed to, okay. Marilyn, tell her to come on in.
I mean, we have to be very thankful for the internet and technology these days that enables us to, you know, that's the gateway to show our films to people in the world.
As a filmmaker, what did you think of Maafa 21?
I thought it was very effective. I thought, like you said, it was scary. It was darkly disturbing. And I'm okay with the use of dramatic music in a documentary. I don't mind that. It is scary stuff. I mean, some people say, well, a documentary should not try to influence you one way or the other. It should just be factual. But, you know, it's a point of view. It's expressing a point of view. And the facts that it was telling us were very disturbing, starting in the 1800s and the 1900s with these intelligent, educated, mainstream academic people, these respected people who were actively, openly, publicly trying to eliminate the black race.
What really kind of blew my mind was the connection between, I believe, the Nazi concentration camps and the deaths that occurred there, slavery. It kind of connected across
a
historical plane. I'm about to be joined by my second guest, Miss Marilyn Jackson. She's a refugee from the trailer park show like me. Have a seat, Marilyn. We were talking about Mafi 21. Mafi 21. After I sent that to you Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Have you saw it what? The last couple of weeks, right?
Well, I mean, I haven't seen it besides those we saw, but I've seen it back in 2010,
Okay.
2009 actually. But it was something. It was deep. It still is something.
What would you tell? What would you tell the audience about your impressions of? Oh, this is Karl. You meet Karl?
We've
Okay,
met
it's Karl
once before.
Lentini.
Yes.
Well, Mafi 21. My thoughts about it today is that it's not a movie just for black folks. I think the world needs to see this. I think really every United States citizen needs to see this documentary because it's so real and it affects so many people. The things that were done then has affected so many people. I think back when I saw it in 2009 for the very beginning, my thing was that every black person needs to see this, you know, but not just every black person. Me being a conservative, I thought every person that votes Democrat needs to see this because there's so much truth to this. There's so much behind it. It's a great documentary, and if you haven't seen it yet, and I know Mike's already told you what it is, please go there. It's Maafa 21, MAAFA21.org. You really need to go there and just watch that. Just pull it up on the video because it is so real. The things will just blow your mind, and you won't even know. Really, you will be just so amazed and really just overwhelmed about the things that have happened to just a black race, the black race, just the genocide and everything. It is amazing. But I can't even say the main thing that really struck me because there were so many different things in there. Is to, you know, with Planned Parenthood, I thought it was just so amazing that the people that contributed to Planned Parenthood, they had a say-so of where that money's went to. I mean, we allocate funds and things all the time, but when you allocate your money and earmark it for a black baby, that's too much. That's too much. What really gets me too is that, you know, women use abortion as a birth control method, and that's not the way that it. That is not it. You know, it is something when you kill these babies. The black generation is missing. There's so many people missing because they're dead. They were babies. They're no longer here. And the sad thing is that I think I can say this one thing. A black baby, the safest place, the unsafest place for a black baby is in a black mother's womb. Now that is bad. That is bad when that is said about a black unborn child. That is really sad. So all I'm saying is that there's so much to this. There's so much history in this, and we need to know it. We need to learn it. We need to allow it to really shed some light and just open our eyes on how our society really was and still is to a certain extent. In this day and time, they may not be doing what may have been done then, but I assure you, there are things that are still done. There are people still have these beliefs. They still want to see black babies dead, you know, and we've just given right into them. Every black mama that go down and have an abortion is given right into what it is that they're wanting. You know what? And these kids were not, they did not ask to be here. But my thing to you is that if you're going to have an abortion, your mama didn't abort you. You're here. You need to have this baby and do the right thing.
Now, on every show I have, I always say I'm conservative. I'm on the right because I believe, and there's something I just truly believe in my heart, and I will say it until I'm proven wrong. And when I'm proven wrong, that's okay with me. I say I believe that what's good for the black community is good for the community. I think if a boat is made to sail and work better, that everyone on the boat is benefits. And with that in mind, in political terms, I believe that anyone who say they're pro-choice, to me, you may as well just say you're anti-black. And in a sense, inhuman, because of black people, we're human.
Well, Mike, why don't you take it a little bit further? If you're a Christian man, then if everybody say that, then guess what? I think they're anti-Christ. Well, the fact of the matter is, what does God say? I mean, if you want to just put it on out there, I mean, really. I mean, and not to mention is that even our left-wing voters, of all the things that, most people don't vote their morals and values anyway.
Right.
But if they did, I assure you, they would vote totally different. There's no perfect choice to vote. I mean, Republicans are not perfect, and nor is Democrats perfect.
Man is not perfect.
Man is not perfect. Faulty, you better believe it. But the fact is that the platform is better. If you want to call yourself a believer, that's not the way God's heart is towards an unborn child.
Let's talk politics for a second. Karl, were you always on the conservative side of the house of politics?
I would say so. I would say so. I was lucky because my parents raised me that way, so I didn't have to learn it on my own. I was educated from the beginning, and that just work hard, do your best, respect other people, respect hard work and achievement, earn what it is that you want out of this life.
And you were raised up Boston way, right?
Well, raised in New York and Indiana, so educated in Boston, lived in LA, so I've been all over the place.
Okay. Okay.
But I think one thing that strikes me as interesting is I lived in Los Angeles for so many years, and I'm friends with all kinds of people. But the black folks I know from there, who are from there, from South Central Los Angeles, tell me that before the age of welfare, and I guess before birth control and abortion came in, the illegitimacy rate in the black community was the same as everyone else. When you don't have the outlet of welfare paying you to have a baby, or abortion, you just go down the street and get one, then you're forced to be responsible. Then you have to think about, well, wait a minute, I got to think twice before I actually want to reproduce. I think that without those things, those outlets, that you have to be more responsible, and that's ultimately what we want is responsible citizens, right?
Right.
Now, I take a lot of flack for being Republican. As a matter of fact, I went to church last night. My pastor says, he asked me about Trump. He said, you took a big chance out there saying coming out there for Trump. I said, yeah. I said, but Trump was pro-life. And he also was the only one that mentioned anything about education. He talked about charter, because I believe that the answer, one of the answers for the black community is to have their own charter schools. I simply don't believe that a little white girl that just got out of college can teach a young black man how to make it in this world. Her world is not his world. So there are limitations that we have on us because of our God-given circumstances. And as much as possible, we should try to make our God-given circumstances work to the positive benefit of as many people as we can. And to me, having an education system that doesn't kind of match the person it's not the best way to go. And that was another reason that I am on the right side of the house, Republican side of the house, so to speak, is because they're concerned that their values esteem education. And it's not about the individual's little sexual preferences and all this. It's about acquiring knowledge and information and skills to be able to contribute. And I don't see that happening on the other side. It's more, we'll try to suit your every whim. I just believe that we got to have some principles and values. And you had mentioned values, Marilyn.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that the value system that is usually taught among Black Baptist churches and whatnot, which is the experience for most of us, are more aligned with the so-called left or the so-called right?
Well, conservative, for the most part. For the most part, conservative. Now, I personally, I like diversity.
Yeah, I want to show the clip.
I don't go to an all-black church.
Mm-hmm.
I go to a multiracial church because that's how I like things. I'm not a one-colored person.
Right.
But in my congregation, my pastor is a white man. So we're taught different things, and it's not because he's white, but of course his upbringing has been different than ours. But it's on it's more on a conservative level, but it's not one of programs.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you hear what I'm saying? What Democrats, you know, I voted Democrat most of my life until probably 10, 12 years ago. But all it was about programs. But it is different when you talk about a conservative. It's more entrepreneurship. You can be all you want to be. It's not about, have another baby, you'll get more welfare money on your, it's not about that, And I've told so many different women that were receiving assistance, I said, at some point in time in our lives, each one of us need help, but it's not meant for you to retire on it. And not only that, while your children are in school, you need to go to school.
Now you ran for state representative in Travis County before, right?
Mm-hmm.
When was that?
In 2010.
How was that experience?
It was an experience. It was an experience. I ran in a predominantly Democrat district, but that district happened to be in my hood. I'm just going to put it out there. That was my district where I was, brought up and reared. It was a great experience. It was great meeting people. I did not win that race, but I won because I finished something I started. And I got a chance to meet a lot of people out there while I was campaigning, and I'm hoping that I was able to encourage a lot of people, not just women, but I did spend time with a lot of single mothers that were having children. I'm like, you know what, you need to be in school. Go to school while your kids are in school.
Okay, I want to go to a clip that's a portion of March for 21.
Let's do that.
Every week, about 3,250 African Americans die from heart disease, cancer, strokes, or diabetes. That's how many beads are in this jar. Another 750 die from respiratory failure, kidney and liver disease, septic infections, Alzheimer's, flu, or pneumonia. And 460 will be murdered, commit suicide, or die in accidents. But during that same week, this many will be killed by abortion. That's 5,700 African Americans killed every week. The reality is, abortion was legalized to be an instrument of Black genocide, and it's working. Right now, Planned Parenthood operates the largest chain of abortion clinics in the United States. Their facilities have been disproportionately placed in our communities, and in less than a week, they kill more of our people than the Ku Klux Klan killed in the last 150 years. In fact, there are now parts of America where more Black babies are aborted than are born. At this point, the only question we need to answer is, how much longer are are we going to tolerate this?
Karl, give me your reaction to that clip, please.
I think it's really disturbing. In the film, they were interviewing people on the street saying, do you know what the biggest killer of people in the black community, do you know? And everybody said something else other than abortion. And when they told the one guy, a young man, what it was, he was just shocked. He had this shocked, dumbfounded look on his face. It's like that information needs to be well known, needs to be common knowledge before we can even start to fix this thing, I think.
So it's not sugar diabetes, it's not high blood pressure.
It's not heart disease.
Not heart disease.
It's abortion.
All problems that we need to work on. However.
Isn't that amazing?
Right.
I didn't know that either. I didn't know that. I would have guessed it was probably heart disease, because that's the one they make you hear more about.
And let's just remind folks that the founder of Planned Parenthood was Margaret Sanger, who had her Negro Project. I mean, it even bothers me to say it, to eliminate the black race. That's the founder of Planned Parenthood, and it's still around. That organization should receive no federal taxpayer money at all from anyone.
How you feel about your tax dollars being used to fund something like that?
I want it stopped. I need those dollars. I can make movies with that money.
Exactly.
I can hire people.
What else could be done with the property taxes other than giving them to Planned Parenthood and other things? I mean, come on now. What do you think about in the movie when you saw it, when President Clinton took office? Do you remember that part?
And someone wrote him a letter?
And Margaret Sanger came in there, and she says, now y'all know what y'all need to do. Hillary was in there in the same room with President Clinton when he just got into office. And I think about my friends, my African-American friends, my other friends, the different nationalities, that all they can say is Hillary, Hillary, Hillary. And I'm like, if you only knew Hillary. If you only knew Hillary. Hillary's on a mandate because I'm telling you, as soon as President Clinton got in office, Margaret Sanger was there. Y'all know what to do.
Well, I had heard that Hillary had believed that Margaret Sanger was one of her acknowledged heroes.
Well,
which is scary to me. You know, another thing that came across in the video, I don't have a clip of this. It's the early civil rights guys, Jesse Jackson, Stokely Carmichael, Black Panthers, Nation of Islam. They were all initially opposed to abortion, but they came around to looking at things another way. NAACP, they came around to looking at it differently after they were contributed money. They were bought off.
So they were bought off, you think?
Yeah.
well, Jesse Jackson certainly was. The moment he ran for president, but before then, he was out there. I mean, really, a spokesperson. He was talking about the genocide. The things he was saying out of his mouth were true. That's exactly what was happening. But the moment he ran for president, contributions went his way, he zipped his mouth.
And initially, I believe it comes across in the film that the Congressional Black Caucus initially walked out of a hearing or something like that concerning Planned Parenthood. And now I believe they're probably the first one in the room.
My, my, my.
So we have a problem in terms of our leadership reflecting our real values and our real interests, I believe. Now there's another clip I have of what's her name? Elaine. I think her name is Elaine.
Elaine Riddick?
Yes, Elaine Riddick. She's in the film also. I think the audience should see this. Hear what she has to say. It's going to take about 6 minutes.
In 1934, Adolf Hitler sent a letter to American eugenicist Leon Whitney, complimenting him for a book he had written on sterilization. Whitney was the former executive secretary of the American Eugenics Society and a colleague of Margaret Sanger's. Sanger also published his writings in the Birth Control Review.
In the book that Hitler was praising, Whitney had written that America could eliminate what he called the slum elements of society by sterilizing the lowest 25% of its population. He claimed this was necessary because such people are too stupid to understand or practice even simple methods of contraception. Besides, he said, the country would hardly miss them. One of the people he was talking about was named Elaine Riddick.
At the age of 13, I became pregnant. I was raped by a guy that lived across the street from me. He snatched me off the street and molested me and threatened my life and said if I ever told anyone that he would kill me. When they was delivering my son, they sterilized me at the same time. They had approached my grandmother and said that if she wanted to continue to receive supplement, welfare and food stamps, or at this time they was giving out these surplus foods, canned cheese, I think it was, powdered eggs, and said that if she did not sign the X, that they were going to stop her supplements. Mind you, my grandmother was illiterate. She had never, ever gone to school. She didn't understand what it was. So she signed the acts, and they did this to me. I did not find out that they had sterilized me until I was 19 years old. I asked the state of North Carolina why they did this to me, and they said that because I was feeble-minded, that I would not be able to take care of myself, I would not be able to tie my shoes, that I was just incompetent. The state of North Carolina also said that I had never performed, at the age of 13, I had never performed a day's work in my life. They couldn't get me to do anything. But at the age of 13, I mean, should I not have been in school? They were saying that feeble-mindedness is hereditary. So they sterilized me so I would not produce my kind. Mind you, I am not illiterate, nor am I feeble-minded. I never went into high school, but yet I still acquired a college degree. They also justified that my child or my children would be feeble-minded. My son is the president of his own semiconductor company. He has his own construction company. And he has his own real estate company. I mean, how can you think that your government allowed or allowing these things to happen to a person, a life? You can't say nothing, you have no rights. To me, they took away all of my rights. They sterilized kids from my understanding and my knowledge as young as 8 years of age. I don't know what an 8-year-old can do that could cause them to do this to them. The only reason I can give myself is that because they're black.
In 1961, social worker Sue Casebolt had been installed as the executive secretary of the North Carolina Eugenics Board. At a board meeting held 3 weeks later, she stated that she was going to keep a file on every child whose name reached her desk so that they could be picked up as soon as they reached childbearing age. Casebolt was still on the board in 1968 when it approved the sterilization of 14-year-old Elaine Riddick.
The only way possible of decreasing Negro population is by means of controlling fertility. Birth control facilities could be extended relatively more to Negroes than to whites, since Negroes are more concentrated in the lower income and education classes.
We hope that the restraint of population growth can come about through voluntary means. But if it does not, involuntary methods will be used.
There should be national sterilization for certain dysgenic types of our population who are being encouraged to breed.
That sounded scary to me. Now, one of the things that I like to do on my show, I say right talk, right thinking, right action. I like to do what's right. And it's only fair and right and honest for me to tell you that my idea for tonight's show came from someone else, Mauri Gandy. She's, I hope she'll come step in for a second so you can see who she is. Marilyn and I were on her show yesterday. It's JCI, I believe. And I would urge that you watch that also. It's probably available on YouTube also. Come on in, Mauri. When Mauri's around, I have a tendency to talk about what I'm doing in terms of programming. So I'm thinking at some point I'll hopefully have another show on this subject, and we'll be able to have Elaine Riddick appear on the telephone.
Elaine has been a real close friend to mine and Craig's. So we did a lot of pro-life shows here at the studio, and we've come to know a lot of the pro-lifers here in the Austin area and around the country. So we're glad we're doing those again.
One of the things that I work on as part of outreach is they have you're going to have this year, it'll be the 11th annual Race Unity Symposium at Houston-Tillotson. It's going to be in April. I think it's the second Wednesday in April. And it's about race unity. That's what the whole thing is about. And I'm thinking, how can you talk race unity without talking race survival? There would be no races to unify if one is eliminated. That's just a thought I had in my head.
Well, remember, too, that it's not the majority of the white people that believe in this, or it was the elite, the white elite, that wanted to do away with not just the black people, but anybody that was below there. They believed only the elite should survive.
Oh, so they were little Hitlers, huh?
I first read about sterilization of women in America in a book called Where White Men Fear to Tread by Russell Means, who was an activist for the Native Americans. He was part of the American Indian movement. It's fascinating stuff. And yeah, in that book he talked about how women from tribes in, native tribes were sterilized here and there to reduce the native population, to just get rid of them basically so they don't have to be taken care of. So yeah, it's for the undesired, supposedly, races of people.
Would that be deplorables?
Deplorables. But could I say something? I think there's one race.
That's right.
Human.
Yeah, human. Homo sapiens, that's what we are. Science doesn't have any other designation but Homo sapiens. What's on the surface is just superficial. It's like hair color, eye color. I think people who are always bringing up race, like the eugenicists, are the true racists. Because they look at people as members of a group, not as individuals who can make choices for themselves, which is what I believe.
They look at people as, repeat that, and look at people as a group?
Right. When you're constantly bringing up race, when you engage in identity politics.
That's what I was. That's what I was
because you're white, you think like this. You're white, you vote like that. If you're black, you do this. If you're Hispanic, you're like this. You think of people as members of a group based on skin color, I guess, instead of people as individuals. Individuals are people who make choices, and that's what I guess you call it the left, don't want people making their own choices. They say pro-choice, but they don't really want choice. If they believed in choice, then we ought to have a school choice. Or parents could send their kids to any school they want, right? I mean, does that make sense?
I never thought about it.
Well, my two favorite people are right here, to you, Mauri, and it's because of the values that they have, you know, and they identify with your values, not because of your race. I don't even see you race.
Neither do I.
They've become my best friends, and I love their values, and that's the kind of people I want to be around.
Even my bald head?
Yeah, even your bald head.
Well, what really gets to me is that I think in the very beginning, had black people been given the opportunity to go to school, you know, the opportunity to learn trade and work jobs, then they could have been just as elite as the white people were. You know, but when you constantly, you know, push a person down or erase a people down, then what do you expect? You know.
And it is the minority that's putting the people down. It really is.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. So I mean, it's really Mile for 21 is like I said, it's one of those movies where I think every United States citizen needs to really watch this movie.
They need to know how we've been manipulated.
Yeah, exactly. By our own government, and that's not right.
And the government, not just the government, but the elite.
Elite.
That run them. We have this elite that tries to control us.
It's true.
I was working at the Travis County Republican Party Juneteenth booth, and there's a guy walked by with a Hillary shirt on or something. We were talking about Uber and Lyft at that time, and he said, what part of well-regulated don't you understand? He walked by me, I read the shirt, I said, what part of well-regulated I don't understand? And I asked him, I said, who's doing the regulating? And I also said to him, you know, things were well-regulated on slavery plantations too. Because I don't give them any slack. That's when any chance I get. Now I have a Hillary for President shirt that I wear to the gym. And I know I'm in a 65-35 kind. I always say, come on, get some. You got to keep it real in the world.
That is very true.
That's the right thing to do, I think. If it's wrong.
I'm really glad that you have that passion now, that you watched the movie and that I had you on the show, and that excites me because I know you will tell more people about it, and that's what we need.
Well, I think that exposing my ideas, I think that we should have like viewing opportunities in various venues for people to be able to come see it.
Well, that's how we met Elaine, is that Debbie Jukel, who has Embrace here in Austin area, had people come in and show, and she was trying to get a lot of the black churches to go, and she didn't have very many that came. But Craig and I were there, and we met Elaine and became best friends with her, and she's still on Facebook with me. And
okay, I'm going to put y'all out there, SREC, the State Republican Executive Committee. Got a copy of what our show from yesterday and this one from today. I'm on a mission.
Sunday, I will have Debbie Wiemeyer, who's the executive director of the East Austin Pregnancy Resource Center. So she services a majority of the black people in Austin area.
And all the testimonies.
Oh my God.
All the testimonies.
And it's only been like 4 or 5 years that we've started this group here, and it's just wonderful.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, the babies that are saved. You know, those parents or that mom had their mind made up when they went to Daddy's place, and it's just by the grace of God, before they left there, they didn't abort that baby.
That's right. And
that is
they're helping
amazing.
the women become educated, all kinds, you know, for mothering and for jobs and all kinds of things.
That's awesome.
It's kind of like you were talking about the fish. It's better to teach them how to fish than to just give them a fish.
Just give them a fish.
That's what they're doing right here in Austin, down the street from us here.
Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man a fish, he may eat for a lifetime.
True.
Okay, well, I'm going to get y'all. Thank you for
Thank you.
And we'll have Mark Crutcher on soon, and maybe he can.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
That's gonna be,
He's in the films also.
Yeah, he does a show called Life Talk, And he said that we can start showing it here in the studio.
Okay.
So I'm going to show it next Sunday at 2.
That's going to be very good.
It's really
Next time,
awesome.
okay.
Live talk.
I'm glad you came in, Mauri. You know, you're part of the gang. We're a gang of crazy people. We actually want to give people some useful information, hopefully helpful information that's consistent with conservative values and that's consistent with advancing the interests of the community, the whole community, not any particular part, but all of us. I think it does all of us good to know, to be informed and know the truth and be educated so that we can help others, which I believe is what our ultimate thing is. Karl's part of the gang too. He just got co-opted a couple of weeks ago. He made the mistake of saying he wanted to get involved, and
Here I am.
that's what I do. Because what the gang does is we're involved in the process of trying to reach out in the community and make our conservative values understood and acted upon, because we believe it's best. I'm speaking, maybe speaking out of terms, speaking in the sense of speaking to them, but I believe that we believe that it's best that people just know the truth and make their own informed choices. That's what it's about.
Yes. But we've got to get the truth out there. We've got to get the truth out there. I mean, what can we do to save, you know, these black babies? What can we do to save them? But it's not, like you say, it's not just the black babies, but just babies, period. You know? So, well, I'm just waiting to see, you know, what things happen, you know, with Planned Parenthood being defunded. And
Trump talked about that, didn't he?
probably so. I know Governor Abbott has, you know, here for the state of Texas, and it needs to be defunded. And, you know, what really gets to me is that, you know, when the Democrats talk about, well, they're taking away this, they're taking away that, they're taking away this, they're taking away that, you know, there's other resources out there where these mothers can get the things that they need. It's not just Planned Parenthood, you know.
The Senate has brought it up with the repealing Obamacare, also take away Planned Parenthood. So that's in the Senate right now.
I think that's going to happen. There's a lot of flack going on about it, so I'm telling you.
Well, Planned Parenthood, according to the film, they receive a lot of donations. They receive millions in donations, aside from tax dollars. And so I think they would still exist, even if tax dollars were withdrawn from them.
Yes, they would.
You know, and you know, they're going to say, well, we got to have reproductive rights for women. Well, reproductive rights pre-existed Planned Parenthood. Those women have those rights inherently. I think that exposes another problem, another misunderstanding that people have, is the government doesn't give you rights. Planned Parenthood doesn't give you reproductive rights. You have rights because you're a human being. Right?
Right.
We have certain inalienable rights that's contained in a certain document that there's the foundation of our nation, I believe.
Right.
Yes.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Right. Among other rights.
Yes.
Among the, right?
Right. Those rights came first, then the government came second to protect those rights.
God came first. Not to get Christian. I'm always, yeah, they always said, I've always been variously accused of being Christian on my show, but I tell them, I don't know if I'm Christian, no, I'm just a guy.
Well, the table's been turned lately, you know, with that priority, you know, of what goes first, you know. So what entity goes first, and like you said, God is first, you know. But the government has wanted to take that position for quite some time, and they do.
So it's not the chicken or the egg, it's God, huh?
Well, in my book.
Well, I think that's why Karl Marx wanted to get rid of religion altogether, is to replace religion that people had with the state, to make the state religion, right? So the state will give you everything, sustenance and life. And
what can the state do for us? What can the I mean, there are things, yes, the government do for us, but I'm just saying, boy, our mindset, and theirs too. You know, but the fact is that I don't want you giving me what you want me to have. That may not be what I want. I don't want your little handout when I want the opportunity to go out there and make the amount of money and you know, success that I want for myself. I don't want you to dictate to me the type of success I can have. and how much of it. You know, that reminds me, really, I'm just going to just put it out there. That reminds me of a pimp. And the way that a pimp treats his prostitutes. And there's male prostitutes too. So I'm just saying, in general, the government is the pimp, and he wants to pimp us as the people. And it happens in so many different ways. And that's the thing I say to people that are on assistance. I understand that at some point in time we all need help. But it's just to get you to the next place. It's not designed for you to stay in that slump and just stay on it, in that place. But the government will say you can stay here, but yet they want you there at the same time so they can know where you are and what all you're doing. But then they're saying it's just control.
That's control.
It's just really control. It's bondage. It's bondage, and they want to keep you in that bondage.
It's well regulated.
Well regulated? Okay. It is well regulated bondage for sure.
Well, the words well regulated come from the Second Amendment, well regulated militia. That meant well ordered, well organized
right.
militia.
Ooh.
Not regulated by Congress.
Well, I believe that as I know that me as a person on the right and being conservative, my focus is on freedom and opportunity and independence. Mm-hmm. I said on CNN, you were there, Marilyn, when we were there when they had the Trump watch.
You did.
I told him I just had my son in my hat. I was suited up, and I told him what I really feel. I said I don't want anyone to do anything to me. I don't care what Trump. My words were, I don't care what Trump or any. I was like this, hey y'all. I said I don't care what Trump or any white man says. All I want to do is stay out of my way and let me be all I can be. Let it be between God and me. That's what this thing is about, in my view. That's why I do what I do in this.
Well, you know.
The revolution still won't be televised.
Oh my goodness.
But this eugenics thing is a serious proposition that the public needs to seriously be informed of, so that we can make reasonable choices in terms of life itself. And it concerns me that I just found out about it last week.
Yes.
And so I think it's incumbent upon me to do everything I can to try to get the word and get the truth out, so that people can do the right thing. I always get back to my thing: right talk, right action, right thinking.
You know, I wish I had the opportunity to ask Jesse Jackson some questions from back then and ask him why. I really believe he had a mission. You know, he had a purpose and he had a destiny to bring about. But, you know, he allowed that to cut in on his race, to do the things that he was supposed to do. I mean, I really would like to just ask him these questions from what happened back then. How did you allow that to happen? What makes you think that, you know, God, if he puts you in this, to do this, to run for president, how is it that you feel that he couldn't help you, you know, propel you to do what it is that he called you to do?
Do it the right way.
You didn't have to take that from them. You could, if you didn't partner with them, don't take money from them, you know? Then you'd end up owing them something.
Well, I guess what concerned me most was it comes across in the film that Jesse Jackson was opposed to abortion in 1971, but by 1975 he had switched around completely. And the same thing that happened with Jesse Jackson seems to have happened with the Congressional Black Caucus, and it continues until today. And it makes me wonder, what in the world is the Congressional Black Caucus doing? I haven't heard about a single piece of significant legislation ever. And I thought that's what they were there for, to represent us and help the black community. But it seems not to be happening. I posted something on Facebook that said, when you want to help others, you tell the truth. When you want to help yourself, you tell people what they want to hear.
Wow.
Me, I try to do what's right and tell the truth. I'm not liked because of it, because I have a Trump shirt, Trump hat, and stuff like that, but hey, that's what it is.
You know, another thing from the late 1800s that was done to suppress black people that we still have today is gun control.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because after the slaves were freed, there were all kinds of laws, not just laws against them owning guns, but all kinds of laws to keep them in their place.
Right.
So they can't make a living, can't, you know, don't have upward mobility. And so things like gun control, eugenics, you know, most people don't know that.
You know, one of the things that I feel tends to happen too much is we talk too much about problems and not about solutions. And I truly believe that the solution overall is for the black community to assume more control over its circumstances, beginning with the family. And the family begins with birth. And if the family begins with birth, this thing called Planned Parenthood should not be supported by a single black person in the country.
Well,
Not one.
right.
I might be wrong.
You're absolutely right. It shouldn't be. You know, have you ever wondered the gap? We're missing so many black people.
We're missing power.
Yes.
The power is in people.
All kind
The
of
power is in
destiny, we're
population.
missing it. I mean, my goodness, we're missing so many black people. I mean, we already don't have a lot of black people in Austin nowadays, but we're missing so many black people in this world, in this nation, because these babies have been aborted.
You know what's a little unsettling to me is there's an entire Democratic city council here.
Yeah.
I think it might be a positive thing if that began to change. But I think change, in my view, as far as I'm concerned, change begins with me, change begins with you, you. And that applies to everyone. We all must do our part to try to make this thing better and get this thing right.
Yes. And educate our circle of influence that we, you know, our families, our, you know, our sphere of influence that we're around.
You know, do what we can.
Well, showing people this film, Maafa 21, is one way to do it.
Oh my goodness. I can't wait for the other one to air on Sunday. It's going to be a good one too.
Have you heard of a film, you've heard of Gosnell?
No. What's that?
Gosnell was an abortionist, I think in Philadelphia, who was tried and convicted for aborting live-born babies. And then some people made a film about it, and it's going to come out soon, I think.
Wow.
But it's something that received no attention in the national media at all. You know. So if that's one guy doing that, then there's probably other people as well. Live babies.
Wow.
That's